Hello, today I'm going to talk about a perfect album. The artist is Cale, and the album is Fear from 1974, and the label is Island Records. If you don't know Cale, he was a member of the Velvet Underground, pretty much the band that started alternative or punk music. I talk about them extensively in this ranking video. This is Cale's fourth solo album, but the first of three that he released with Island Records within 1 year. So this was a kind of peak creatively. I discussed the album before this, Paris 1919, in another video. You can check that out if you want to. But this is a departure from his earlier style. And I think he embraces his roots with the Velvet Underground in this release. I kind of feel like his first three albums were him trying to find his footing, trying to establish himself separate from the Velvet Underground. And each of these albums kind of has a different personality. They all sound cohesive, but they're definitely a little more orchestral. Perhaps they sound a little bit more innocent, but he leaves all that behind and embraces his punk attitude here. And I would say this is a pivotal album in shaping later punk rock. You know, like albums like The Stooges, The Modern Lovers. This fits in nicely with those albums. He is joined by some great players on this. Phil Manzanera, Fred Smith, Brian Eno, Richard Thompson, Judy Nylon, and many, many more. Right before this album, Cale moved back to London. This was during the collapse of his second marriage, and you can hear it. There is definitely angst in this album. Essential listening. Here's the track list, and I would say every song on here is gold. It opens with the Velvet Underground like Fear. Fear is a man's best friend. This has the fury of his former band, and this is always a great track when he performs it live. I've seen him a few times and he was excellent. Buffalo Ballet is one of Cale's best songs. It feels lost, dusty, nostalgic. There's a cowboy laziness to it. It's just a really beautiful song, and it's a great contrast to the opening track. Barracuda is classic, gritty, tough, almost poppy for him anyway. If I was to pick a weak link on here, it might be Emily. I'm not saying that I don't like that song, but it's maybe the weakest one on the album. Ship of Fools is another quite poppy track. I think the centerpiece of this though is the song Gun. It's a masterpiece of experimental fury. It features a strange two-man guitar solo between Manzanera and Eno. Eno used his synthesizer to process Manzanera's guitar in real time, and it is awesome. I also love the dark lyrics of this. This is definitely an extension of his Velvet Underground work. The Man Who Couldn't Afford to Orgy has a vocal by Judy Nylon. Nylon is actually kind of an unsung hero of this era. She is the subject of Brian Eno's song Back in Judy's Jungle, and she was very influential on glam, punk, and new wave. Cale is a big Brian Wilson fan, and you can hear it within this. For sure. You Know More Than I Know. This might be my favorite Cale song ever. It's definitely up there. I love it. It's simple but effective. It's kind of dreamy, a little bit melancholy, a little bit exhausted sounding. You can definitely feel like he's going through some kind of negative experience, and this is channeling that. The album ends with Mo Mama Scuba, a track similar in tone to Gun and Barracuda. I think it's the perfect way to complete this gutsy rock masterpiece. The pros. This has bold and experimental production. Cale, Eno, and Manzanera all worked on the production. It blends rock, avant-garde, and orchestral elements flawlessly. There's some really interesting instrumental work here. It has great songwriting, maybe his strongest album in this regard. The other two Island records that he put out have some great tracks, but I think there's a few weak links on those albums, whereas this one is pretty much gold. It's packed with a bunch of excellent guest stars who are all in line with Cale's vibe. If you like the Velvet Underground, this is an extension of his approach in that. The cons. This may be challenging or abrasive to casual listeners. It could seem overly raw in some places. Cale certainly has an edge, and some people don't see the value of that. I mean, some people might even think he's insane or disturbed. I don't know, maybe he is, I'm not sure. But whatever's inside of him, it makes for some good proto-punk music. Final thoughts. This has a dark and threatening aura. It's very confrontational, but I also think it's aggressive in a creative way. It channels paranoia, it's discordant. Maybe he was losing his mind or doing too many substances. He took to wearing a hockey goaltender mask around this time in his live performances. This predates the creation of Jason Voorhees, fun fact. Cale has stated later that his erratic behavior at this time was associated with heavy cocaine use, but I think this kind of adds to the mystique a little bit, and I'm not promoting any of that kind of stuff, but I will say that when he was most heavily into that, I feel like his music was a little bit stronger. Later in his career, I think it weakened a bit. I don't know, there's definitely an edge to it, and yeah, you can take that whatever way you want. But that's all I got for this one. Link is below. If you have anything to say, you can comment, and that's it. Take care. Have a good day.